That's a good point. Like there are jokes where if you analyze them too much. I have jokes that work, and I think about them and I go, that's not even funny. I don't even
Yeah.
know why I thought that was funny.
Oh,
It's obtuse, and it like gets a reaction, but I'm like, fundamentally that's not that funny.
yeah. Like
But
if you were saying it in I know what you mean. Like you say it in a conversation, you're like, it's not going to make the other person laugh. But for some reason, like the way you perform it maybe did for a while, and then you've
I don't know. I
just
think I think if you just get too close to your stuff, sometimes you just go, what does that even mean? Like,
yeah,
like
yeah,
I
yeah,
don't know. And
yeah.
I've seen other people's jokes, great jokes, people laugh at them, and I'm there going like, I don't get it. I don't understand what what that joke is supposed to be. Like I don't know why it's funny, but everyone's laughing, so I'm like, all right, cool.
Now, welcome to the Johnny Rogers Show. You're making your podcast debut. For everyone watching and listening, thank you. This is Ottawa comedian Tavis Maplesden. Absolutely hilarious. Since I've been here, I've loved all the shows that you've been on, and you run a great show on Tuesday called No Forks for people in the Ottawa area that want to check out a show. But the spark lit in me to get you on the show when I went to the Ottawa Comedy Roast, which I won't say much about because that's the whole point of the roast, is to keep it within our community. But
Yeah.
man, you did such a stellar job like hosting that thing, and then just even getting a dig in the podcast section. I was like, I'm touched.
I mean,
That
yeah,
I
I
was
mean,
thought of.
for people that don't know, it's like a local awards show and roast. So we hand out awards. But yeah, I do a podcast one, but it's just like I don't think there are enough. There's only a couple, and there's a few that are just real bad. So you don't want them on there. But yeah, and I got complaints last year that the show was too long, so I didn't want to end. I didn't
Oh.
want to add another category, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I guess, well,
we'll
if it
see.
went long, then the podcasters would be right at home, right?
Yeah, exactly.
No, let's just hang and shoot the shit. Yeah. But man, your word for this episode was funny. What made you go right to funny on that question?
I mean, it's the heart of comedy, I guess, right? It's the dividing line of who's funny, who's not, what's funny. Like it's just that's my it's like an unconscious thing. My life is just driven by trying to make things funny. So that's it. It pretty much sums me up.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I thought it was a pretty pretentious thing to say to be like, my word is funny.
Yeah, like
But
of course the comedian. No, I like it having all of the words, right? Because it's cool to look through the Instagram. If anyone's listening and they want to go follow it, it's at the Johnny Rogers Show on Instagram. And I have like every person that's been on the podcast with the word that they've chosen. So it's kind of this thing that everyone can share, like, oh, I picked that word for the podcast. Or I've had repeat words as well, even where people could just go a totally different way. I just think it's a
mm,
really interesting way because some people it's hard to like crack into them for like a podcasting environment. Like I was saying, it's very much just like a hang. But I think some people have done so many of these where it's like very interviewee, like question answer. So
yeah.
this gives them a moment to like come up with something themselves and then maybe even talk about it because it's like, well, why did you pick that word? Let me get you to open up a little bit more on that.
And I'll be honest, I picked that one because I forgot a few days ago that you'd asked me to do that. And I was
That
like, I
happens
better
too. Uh,
I better think of something too.
I've had
Um,
podcasts too where I had like Angelo Sarukis on and I just totally forgot to even ask him to pick a word. And I was like, that's the whole
yeah.
fucking theme of the show.
I once saw Angelo Sarukis going into Yuck Yucks to hang out with Howard, I think. And he had like four or five tiny pizzas from I think Boston Pizza or something, which was nowhere near downtown. So he went to some place, bought
He went to a
five
fucking hunt
tiny
club.
pizzas. Yeah.
Yeah. I
And then just brought them downtown. I was like, that's not even good pizza. What are you doing, dude? It's crazy. He's a
love that
funny
that's
guy.
your Angelo Sarukis.
That's pretty much it. That's what I remember about him. It was bizarre. That's too many small pizzas.
Yeah,
Get one big one.
yeah. Man, it's so fucking funny how people like that can make an imprint on you of just like that's just your only memory of them. I'm trying to think of
Yeah.
an example. Oh yeah, when I I was in Toronto when I was living in Toronto, like TIFF was on, so I would always like kind of stroll by and see what kind of fucking celebrities you're gonna see because they'd just be out everywhere. Like it's crazy.
Hmm.
And I walked past a hotel and Russell Peters came out. And I was like, oh, and I started talking to him, and he just randomly started telling me that he got good at autographing because throughout his youth he would just like spray paint his name all over bus stops in Scarborough. And I was like, all right. I don't know. I don't know why he told me that, man. Like he just
It's
said,
a
could you imagine though being a celebrity and you just admit small crimes to people you meet?
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah.
Is it like a way to
It,
bond? I'm so confused.
maybe he just came to that realization 20 seconds before, and he's like, I gotta tell someone. I gotta tell this kid.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Typical comedian too. I remember telling him
Yeah.
like I was like, "Oh yeah, I got a stage name because Johnny Rogers is my real name." And he's like, "You have a fucking stage name? What do you have a stage name for?" He goes, "I don't have a stage name."
Yeah.
That's the other second memory. Yeah.
There you go. Well, the thing you have to take into account is that comedians are weirdos,
Yeah.
and so of course they're going to do weird stuff. Like I've had that conversation about different things with many different comics, where they just start telling you something, and you're like, okay, I don't remember asking for this, but let's get
Yeah,
into it. Let's
yeah,
go.
yeah.
Yeah,
Let's
it's
divulge on
cool.
that further.
Yeah, it's fun
Let
hanging out with crazy people.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I like about it is it attracts all sorts of people. So you get to hear the world from all sides for sure.
Hmm.
And like you said, maybe a little bit too much from certain people. What
Yeah,
made you
white
I
guys.
white guys, especially white guys.
Except me and you.
Yeah, yeah.
We're exempt.
We're the
Yeah,
only exemplary voices that you need to hear all of our shit from.
that's right.
It not to be what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. I think that's pretentious again, but it's kind of along the lines of the word funny is like, how did you get into stand up? Because for me, I love hearing about that from comics of like what the tipping point was. Because I think for a lot of people, it's not like an easy thing to do, right? Just to decide you're going to start telling jokes for a crowd or for an audience. So what was it for you that made you kind of want to do it?
I think I've told people the story before, but fundamentally, yeah, like my major outlet for comedy was writing film scripts before. So in my 20s, I wrote a bunch of film scripts, like one a year. I just focus on that, and they're all comedies, and I think pretty funny still. But I was when we were living here, and my father-in-law signed up to do Absolute Comedy, and he went and did a couple sets, and I went and watched him, obviously, and I was kind of just like, well, if he can try that out, I can try it out for sure. And then I signed up, but it was tough. Like I don't remember ever considering doing stand-up before at all.
Do you remember
Like
your first joke?
I remember some of my first set, and I actually found my first set list a while back, but I think I lost it again. My first joke I would have told probably would have been some like cheeky thing like it's nice to be here, blah blah blah, some turn of phrase. I
Yeah.
told basically like one line kind of jokes back then.
Uh,
And they were kind of like everyone when they start they're a little shock comic-y and they're kind of like, look what I said. It's crazy and stuff.
yeah,
So
yeah.
um I don't remember exactly. I wish I could because I always wanted to rewrite the entire set, like take each joke and flesh it out and see what I could do with it.
I feel like there
Um,
was a show, I don't remember where it was, if it was in Toronto or maybe a show happened in Ottawa where people like looked through their notes, found like their earliest stuff, and then tried
there
to
was yeah,
redo it.
I actually judged that.
That's
Um,
a great, I love concept shows like that.
yeah, that was fun because it was mostly newer comics, so it wasn't that long since they had
Oh,
done their
yeah.
first jokes. So some of them I remembered, and I was like, "Hey, these are better jokes than you tell now. You should go back to them."
Yeah, man, that's the
But
thing is like it's so you start with something that you is like inherently funny to you. And then you try to
mhm.
like I think you can over manufacture it. Like I gotta get it right down to like the exact wording or whatever. And then you get it kind of locked in like a script. Like does hosting at No Forks help you kind of be a little bit more fluid when you're on stage, like a little bit more go in and out of material rather than being married to it?
I mean, yeah, for sure. I wouldn't say No Forks is the catalyst for it. Like I've been doing that for a long time. I've been running that show for coming up on 2 years, maybe,
Just
at
like
this
the
point.
repetition, though. I think even if it's a good or bad crowd, you're getting.
Yeah, I mean, I don't do a lot of my club material at that show.
Hmm.
I just goof around and I just chat with people and stuff. So I was doing stand up for a couple of years and I was just telling jokes and I'd go to the open mic nights and whatever and get a beer and tell my 8 jokes and get off stage and stuff. And then I was kind of forced into this. I'd never done crowd work before. Like it wasn't something I even considered. Like a lot of the stuff I fell into in stand up, I was just like,
Yeah.
oh, I do this, I guess. Um, I was doing it. I was supposed to host a Wednesday night at Yuck Yucks on Elgin, and then Howard said, "Oh, our the headliner for the weekend's coming in early. He's going to host it." This guy Jeff Elliott, who's a really good friend of mine,
Hmm.
very funny dude. So he said, "You're going to feature now, and he's going to host instead." And I was like, "Okay," and I was like, "That's cool, I guess, whatever." And then I watched, and he did different and probably better versions of every topic of joke that I had in my set list. And I was just like, okay, tattoos is gone. Okay, like whatever. And I was like, what the hell, dude? So I pretty much had to go up and I was like, I have no material. I'm just gonna wing it and see what happens. So
Yeah,
I just
yeah.
started talking to the crowd and doing stuff, and it felt really good and it went well. So I was like, oh, there's something I could do. And then I host a lot of shows, and hosting you get to talk to people. And yes, definitely like what you said, it's weaving in and out of material. Like I usually don't ask someone a question unless, no matter what, if they answer yes or no, I can go to something else, right? Like I
Hmm.
go, "Hey, Johnny is your name. Oh, that's not very weird, but my name is weird. I'll tell you about it." Or
Yeah, yeah.
if your name is something crazy, your name is like Fernacho. I go, "What the hell, Fernacho?" And then we get into that. So I have like a fork in the road of when I'm trying to set up a joke where I
Hmm.
could tell it or I could move to whatever. So hosting has definitely helped with that for sure.
Yeah. Do you have like a solid, because for a lot of people
No.
too, like no, do you have a solid 20 minutes? No, no, absolutely not. No, I was gonna say, do you have a solid like writing routine, whatever? Because that's some shit that I need to work on more. It's just like sitting down and forcing myself to write. But I feel like it's hard. Obviously, it's hard to write jokes. That's the whole point of it. But like there's something so much more fun about an idea just coming to you or something happening to you where you think about it within a comedy context versus
Yeah.
sitting down and trying to flesh out an idea.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I could give you advice, but I'm the same way as you. I've maybe like 3 times in my life tried to sit down and write a joke,
Yeah,
and I'll
yeah.
write it out, and I go, "Well, this is shit. I'm
It's
never gonna
just
tell this
garbage
joke."
every
Yeah.
time.
No,
Yeah.
my writing process is basically something pops into my head. I have to care about it. Like
Yeah.
as a writer, like if you gave me your set list and you're like, "Hey, do you think you could help punch this up?" Boom, I could do that right away because I didn't have to come up with it, but I could see where it goes and stuff.
Uh,
So I can rewrite stuff great. Like I can punch up and joke doctor things fantastically. And if
yeah.
you gave me a premise, if you're like, write a joke about bananas, I'll start thinking about bananas and I can write about it. But off the top of my head, no.
Yeah.
It kind of has to happen. And I go, that's funny. And then I think about what's going to happen. And then the craziest thing is most of my like really long-term jokes that I've been telling and all the good ones, I have no memory of coming up with them.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. It's just something
They're
that's just ingrained in your brain somehow.
they're just things because I think the more you repeat it, it like overwrites your memory of it.
Yeah,
So like I
yeah.
I literally have no idea what year I wrote certain jokes and why. I'm like, I don't know. I have no idea where
Thank
it
God.
came
That's
from.
why I do. That's why I video every single set because I can go, whoa, I've been telling that since when? Like
Yeah.
I can click back and watch like the every iteration of that joke because I film it so much.
See, I'm glad I don't do that because I'll go back in my notes. Like I write into my phone notes and stuff. I don't really record sets at all because I don't know. usually use my phone as a timer in my pocket, frankly. That's the only reason. But I look back on my notes and I'll see the original way I wrote something, and I'm like, oh, that's not how I say it at all. So I shouldn't
Mm.
reference this because it's just going to mess me up if I think about it the other way. So
Yeah, I've had that where jokes like I looked back and I watched a video and I was like, oh, I used a completely different like it's the same idea, but it was like a different setup and like different tags. And I was like, I wonder if I can work that back into it. But it's the same fear of like if I work this back into it, is it gonna just fall apart in my brain?
right. Also, there's probably a reason. Sometimes you just forget stuff, but there's
Yeah.
usually a reason. Like if you're not getting what you want, you tone
You
it out and you go, ah, it's
change it
why I'm
up.
not.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
You know what the best
Um,
thing was writing wise was a prompt book, like from chapters or whatever. You can get like a 500 writing prompts, and
yeah.
it'll just have a line there, and then that's a great way too to just like flush
It's
out
all it's all just
ideas.
knock. It's all just knock knock. Like
Yeah,
again,
yeah,
500 of these.
yeah.
Fuck, that's hard to write, dude.
500 knock knock prompts. I don't even think you can have that many.
I hope not.
I hope not. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that'd be a cool idea. Yeah, I like that idea. I love the idea of writing to a subject. It's fun. It probably wouldn't be stuff that would make it into my set because
Mm,
I I don't know. I honestly feel like I only really do stuff that is kind of around my life, like who I am, what I
yeah.
do, this kind of thing. That's what makes it into my set because it's I feel like that's the only thing people would give a shit about, and or maybe it's because they give a shit about it. Because like
Yeah.
everyone can have clever bits and stuff, but I don't really feel like that right now. Like I don't want to give my political take, and I don't want to be like Fruit Loops. They're
Damn it.
terrible. Like
My next
yeah,
question was Biden Trump.
I'll
Who do you got?
I'll give you my political take, just not on stage for
Oh,
sure.
okay,
Yeah.
okay. I can't wait for
I want to
political
vote for
analysis.
I want to vote for Biden and Trump. I want them to be
Yeah.
co-presidents. That'd be great.
Yeah, they can do it together. It'd be like an odd couple situation.
Yeah. Well, that dirty old man, that was a good movie. So maybe it'd be funny to
Yeah,
be a
there you
yeah.
go. Or it's more like a Weekend at Bernie's sort of deal, you know?
Yeah. They're both holding each other up.
Yeah, yeah,
I think they're both dead, dude.
yeah. I think they're both dead. And their sons are just walking around with their dead corpses.
Yeah. Fuck.
That's fucking
But yeah.
crazy.
But I
Yeah.
feel like the world's in a good position, a good place right now politically. I think it's great.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Like it it makes for so much good comedy. Like it goes back to
Sometimes.
like, like there's points where I'm like, all right, I think we need to be serious here. But then there's other times where I'm like, it's pretty funny that like these are the options, you know?
Oh yeah, it's absurd. But I mean, like George W. Bush in office.
Oh, hold on, you
Um,
froze. You said
still
George
here?
W. Bush in office?
Yeah, because he was like a dum dum, right? And like, but the stakes weren't that high. It was like, hey, you got us into a war. Oh no! But now it's like the American democracy, which sadly like influences the rest of the world, is like on the brink of dissolving. And like,
And you know what's
it's kind of fucked.
crazy is for the first time ever, like I've never heard an American say this before, but they were like some people will be like, we need to save our democracy. And then the other side is like, it's not a democracy, it's a republic. And you're like, all right, what the fuck does that supposed to mean?
Yeah,
I don't, all right, yeah, sure. Like, but it's still a democracy. Like, what are you talking about? You're like, no, it's a republic.
yeah. Well, I mean,
Why
it
are you
was
making this distinction?
they kind of based it on the ideas of the Roman Republic, and look how that ended up. Not very good.
Yeah,
500 years of emperors.
yeah. Which this whole like they just passed like some new bill. I'm not a political analyst here, but I vaguely saw a couple headlines. They're like, "Oh, great! Now the president is basically the king," and I'm like, "Well, how did
Yeah.
that happen? How
Yeah, it's
how are you both worried about like someone becoming king and then legally enacting it so that someone could become king?"
well, that's the problem because democracy doesn't really work for the people. Like
Hmm.
it's great for a while, but eventually the people go, I don't want to be responsible for these decisions. I just want someone to act and let fucking go to war and stuff. So it is kind
Yeah.
of an issue. Like on a long enough timeline, democracies just disintegrate because people are like people deep down in their souls want a king type person to rule and take the hard make the hard decisions, lead you into war, do whatever. And then if that guy fucks up, you kill him and you get
Yeah.
another one.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
how
Life was
it's how it
simpler
works.
back then.
Yeah,
You
in a way.
just went to your peasant job.
Yeah.
There was no
You
unemployment because if you were unemployed, you died.
yeah, you made hay when the sun shone, and
Yeah.
that's it. Yeah.
Could you imagine though they use that as like a statistic? Like from the 1700s, there was 0% unemployment.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, under a king, we had record level lows of
Yeah.
unemployment.
What
You
about
can't argue with that.
what about death under the age of 15? And you're like, oh,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
was high,
It's pretty high. It's
750%.
pretty
Yeah.
high. But there was only one rich person, the king. That's it.
Hmm.
Everybody else is poor. One rich person.
Yeah.
Everybody else is poor. That way you're all the same.
Yeah. I
You don't
mean,
worry about Bob's jet ski or
the Greeks had a crazy democracy because if you were in power too long, they'd go, you gotta get the fuck out of here, and
yeah,
they'd banish the guy from the city. They'd be
that's
like, you
crazy.
can't come back for 10 years.
We need
It's
to
like
do
awesome.
that.
Yeah, for sure, dude. Oh my god, we should do that with every politician.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
uh I fundamentally think politics and certain things like certain jobs where you can have influence over the public, like police officers, priests, these kind of things. I think
Yeah.
they should be given to people who don't want to do it. It's like jury duty. You got to be
Yeah, like
you.
you'd have to take a test, and then basically if you answer like as someone who wouldn't want to do it, they're like, you got it.
I don't even know if you need to take a test, but just like because the people that are attracted to jobs are attracted to them for certain reasons. That's why
Mm,
you have police that are into beating people up a lot more than you or I would if we were police officers. We'd be like, hey, stop breaking the law. I don't want to have to arrest you, but I will. Or someone's like, hey, your car headlights out, and they end up shooting that person. Like that's not good. And
no.
don't get me started on priests either. They're in it for their own reasons. But say in politics, you should be
Yeah.
like some guy on your block. You're like, hey, you represent us this year, and the guy goes, oh fuck, man, no, I was
I don't
gonna
want to
play
do that
video
shit. I don't
games.
know, pave the roads. Like he
Yeah.
just
Well, no, you
yeah,
get
yeah.
shit done. You'd be like, my
Yeah.
neighbors keep bugging me, and I want to chill. So please pave the road outside. And I go, okay, sure.
Yeah, that's what I think. It make politics more I think at the local level they should have the strongest amount of power, and then at the top echelons, the federal government should have the least amount of power.
Yeah.
You know,
And,
like
and and fundamentally, like that is sort of true. Not the power structure, but like you should know who your city councilor is and your member of your parliament for your riding and stuff. Because those people you can actually reach out to. You can email them and go, look, I live on this street.
yeah,
Can
I could
you
probably get them on this podcast.
I bet you would. They still love themselves. They're
Yeah, yeah. They're invested in podcast. They're invested in any publicity whatsoever at that level, the municipal level.
definitely, yeah,
Yeah, the most
yeah, for
publicity they
sure.
get is like those bus stop ads.
Yeah, definitely. The that's the only time I've ever had any political influence is because there's a street at the end of my street. There's a traffic light and people blow through it all the time because they can't see it. It's set up
Wow.
improperly and cars go zipping through it. Almost been T-boned a bunch of times. So I
Jeez.
emailed the representative. I go, hey, this thing, and I couldn't do that to the prime minister. Hey, lower the price of beer, asshole. But I'm like,
Made
hey,
for.
this like someone's gonna get killed at this intersection. Can you guys look into it? And they
Yeah.
did. And then they came back and they said, no, there's nothing wrong with it. And I was like, system's broken.
Well, you need to go outside and protest
I should. Well,
around the
you know
thing.
what? Guess what happened a month ago? 5-car collision in that intersection.
Oh, fuck. You should have gone over, taken a selfie, and then emailed that to them. I
Yeah.
with the subject line, "I told you so."
No, for sure. Do like a reel with the
Yeah,
vines. Hate to say I told you
you're just
so. All right.
dancing next to the cars, doing TikTok dances.
Yeah. This
That shit would
guy's
go
loving it.
viral.
Yeah.
That shit would go
Yeah.
viral for sure.
The guy
Uh,
who who was not loving that, the guy whose Porsche was fucking totaled. Ooh, yeah, I know.
ooh,
It's rough.
yikes.
Oh well.
Well, if you can afford a Porsche, I'm sure you could afford to get it fixed.
Hmm.
It's usually you hope, you'd hope.
I, yeah, the guy's like, my last dime spent on my
It's like,
beautiful car.
I
As
spent
long as
all my money on this car.
as
I'm
long as
living
nothing
in this
comes.
car. Your truck destroyed my bed.
Yeah, imagine van life, but it's in a Porsche. Like, oh my god, what a terrible
Luxury
idea.
life. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Fuck, how to camp in a Porsche uncomfortably, that's for sure.
big time.
Dude, I saw on your LinkedIn it said that you were an assistant archaeologist.
Yes, I was. Yeah,
What
I
was
ended
that
up being.
like?
It was great. I actually did was talking about LinkedIn at my show at No Forks a couple weeks ago. I said I polled people in the audience. I go, put your hand up if anything positive has ever happened to you because of LinkedIn. And not a single hand went up in the audience. Like I haven't changed my LinkedIn
It's boomer
profile in like
Facebook.
10 years. Yeah, for sure. I don't even know if it works. Like I've
Oh,
never
it's
got
there.
anything out of it.
Yeah, yeah,
It
yeah.
exists. It exists for sure. I still get emails that are like, someone's looking at your LinkedIn. I'm like, why?
Yeah, they'll send you that shit. They'll send you that stuff to like kind of draw you back. Like I got one that was like, your post is up 25% this week. And I'm like, my post? I didn't post anything. And then so I
Yeah,
click on it. It's like, that's what you could be seeing if you signed up for LinkedIn Premium. And I was like, you son of a bitch, block.
that's crazy,
Get the fuck out of here.
dude. My favorite one I've been getting recently, and it's like, they're very adamant. They very pushy. It's like, this is your last chance before your photo bucket account gets deleted. And I'm like,
You're like, my
I
what?
I'm like, I never had that, and even if I did, I have a phone that has more
Yeah.
say like space capability than your website did in 2001. So
That literally sounds like a place, like a drive-through that you could develop film at called Photo Bucket.
yeah, pretty much.
Welcome to
It's great
Photo
though. It's like,
Bucket.
and then they kept getting worse. They're like, okay, it's getting deleted. Sorry, pal, you screwed up. And then
Not
and then
sorry, pal.
3 days later, it's like, if you want your thing to be undeleted, please email us. I'm like,
Yeah, it's
no.
new software of how to undelete emails.
Yeah, yeah, it's like nagging you. You're like,
Uh,
you think you're pretty smart, but you're not. You're not even smart enough to have a photo bucket. Like, okay, I'll sign up.
no, I wanted to be an archaeologist when I was a kid, but I couldn't spell it, so I thought that that disqualified me from
Hmm.
being an archaeologist.
That is the one
That's
test.
the that's what I thought. That's what I assumed. So I went a completely different way.
Yeah, you're just like, I can spell paleontologist. That's easy. I'll just
Yeah,
do
yeah.
dinosaurs for sure.
I'll just do
Yeah,
dinosaur
sorry,
quotes.
I totally skirted
That's
your
all
thing. I was
right.
railing against LinkedIn. Being an archaeologist was cool, dude. It was great. I kind of fell sort of backwards into it again. I took classical studies in university, like ancient Rome, ancient Greece, history, blah blah blah, and I took some archaeology courses, but not much. And then when we moved here, my wife got a job with a company that had an archaeology branch, and they just needed people for a week. They're like, we need people to come dig holes for a week. And
That's
I
sick.
was working, so yeah, I was working in another job, and I was like, wait, if I take vacation for this week and go work, I'll get a double paycheck. And because I'm all about the money, everyone knows that. um and
How do you think these
and
AirPods don't pay for themselves, baby?
my wife pays for them.
Oh, nice, nice.
um I and so I did that, and then I went back to my other job, and then they're like, hey, we could use you for the rest of the year. So I quit my job and I went there, paid more, and it was cool. And then I stayed there, and I eventually got certified. And like, I don't think it's valid anymore, but I was licensed in Ontario as a what's called a research archaeologist. So I had my R license,
Hmm.
and it was great. It was cool. It's a neat job. You go around, looking at stuff, digging holes. Sometimes it's terrible and you're in the worst conditions, and sometimes it's amazing. But
Wow.
yeah, it's not. It's much more like doing construction work than what you see like with toothbrushes and stuff. Like
Hmm.
you're almost never on a scale where you're doing that kind of in the
Like
ground stuff.
fine, like digging for stuff.
Oh, you're sifting stuff like you use a screen, but you're just dumping buckets of dirt into a screen and going and
Uh,
seeing what comes out. Like you
how,
almost
like, how do they know what areas to go to? Like, what is the, I
well
guess,
again,
research based on?
we weren't like research. We worked for a consulting company. So if
Hmm.
Johnny Rogers Inc. is buying property in small town Ontario, whatever,
Gotcha,
and
gotcha.
you're like, I want to develop this and turn it into a mini mall. You need part of your assessment under the Ontario regulations is to make sure when you develop something, you're not damaging wildlife, you're not
Hmm.
damaging the history of the place, and a small part of that is archaeology. So most people get off like you could build your mini mall. You hire an archaeologist. One guy looks at some old maps and he goes, "There's probably nothing there. We don't see anything. There's no water nearby. There's no real reason to think that anyone would have done something important there." So most of your stuff, you pay that guy $2,500 and then he signs it off and you're done.
Wow.
But sometimes you're building something and they go, okay, we got to go look at this because it fits within the regulations. It could have some kind of history to it. And then a lot of people get away with that. You look at it and you do some test pitting or walking the area and you go, no, there's nothing here.
Hmm.
Then you get into further stuff. If you find something in what's called stage two, which was that stage, then you go to stage three, which is putting in squares and digging them out and really just like digging out um, a big part of the area that you found stuff in. And then
Yeah.
stage four is a complete excavation where you're digging up the parameters of whatever you found, everything, looking through it, and that adds a lot of money and time to your budget, obviously, but that's the risk you take developing stuff.
Wow, that's
But
crazy. Have you ever found anything like wildly historic or anything that surprised you?
yeah, it depends where you are. I mean, like I said, a lot of them never make it out of the books. Like you're just doing office work, but the ones that do the stage two, you got to go out. I've been to everywhere in Ontario. I've been
Uh,
18-hour drive away, like in Ontario,
which is
and
insane that the province is that big.
dude, did you know that I didn't know it until I did it? There's a time zone change in Ontario. When
What?
you go a little bit west of Thunder Bay and your clock changes. And I was like, and I had to work like crossing it over. And I'm like, okay, what time is it? We have to finish
Yeah,
work soon.
yeah. Oh shit.
It's crazy how big this place is.
That's
But
wild.
so yeah, no, yeah, I found amazing stuff. There's two levels of stuff you can find in Ontario. Basically, it's like post contact, which is when Europeans started coming and showing up, and that stuff just looks like your stuff would. Like, say you took your kitchen,
Yeah.
took a bunch of plates and stuff, and just smashed them up and threw them on the ground. That's kind of what it looks like. It's the same stuff: ceramic, glass,
Hmm.
bricks, things like that, nails. Um, that stuff didn't get me off that much. Like it's kind of like, oh, like we
You're like,
can
all
date
right.
this. It's like it's
Yeah.
been around for a while. It's cool. I once found a coin from 1870s or something like that,
Crazy.
and it was like a penny. And that imagine losing a penny in 1870. Like that was probably like the
You
best.
found it like
Yeah,
in like whatever 2000.
yeah.
That's so
But
crazy.
that he needed that money, dude. Like imagine
Yeah,
going home and
yeah.
be like, I dropped that penny. Your wife would be like, you fucking idiot.
That's a week's pay, bro.
Yeah, exactly. Um, but yeah, no, I really like finding indigenous stuff like projectile points with like arrowheads and
Wow.
spear points, things like that. The coolest thing I ever think I found a stone axe head that was about that big, and it wasn't chipped. Like you know how like arrowheads are always chipped away, like they're flint that's been
Yeah,
knapped,
yeah.
basically. This was like worn down, so it was a smooth stone and they'd worn it down to an edge. So unmistakably, it's an axe head. It just looks like that with
Wow.
this cool thing, and it was just on the ground near Chatham, Ontario. It was just sitting there. I go there's an axe head. It's cool. So
That's
yeah,
crazy.
yeah, dude, it was neat. It was really fun. Cool job.
It's just because nobody
Um,
like goes through those areas. Like if it's a developmental area, like you said, where they're going to build a mall and it's been a field for however long.
mhm.
Yeah, you
Well,
probably could just walk up and see stuff laying there.
Yeah, a lot of them we did at the end of my career doing that were for the wind power, like wind giant windmills and stuff, because they go back into farmers' fields. So
Mm.
you're walking a 200 meter whatever, I don't know how big they are, farmer's field, and you're seeing tons more area than you would, because
Yeah.
other stuff is just small. Like you could be like, dig out this 10 foot area, and then you go, oh, there's nothing there. But
Mm.
walking a farmer's field is fantastic. It's a great way to spend your day. Just walking back and forth, looking at the ground and looking for stuff. It's cool.
That is a pretty cool job. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But
For a while,
that's
I thought it would cross over. I'm like, I can just think about comedy while I'm out there. I'm like, no, I can't. I have to
oh
focus on
no.
my job.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's the hard balance of like doing comedy and having another job is trying to think like you're always at the other job thinking, how can I think about comedy while I'm at this other job? But I mean, you're gonna be a terrible employee if all you're thinking about is something else while you're supposed to be working.
Yeah,
No
definitely.
question. Yeah.
Well, even stuff that's mindless. Like there's some jobs that are really shit, but if you think about them, they're almost like Zen. Like
Mm,
you're just in a state of like you're in flow state doing something stupid thing. You can't think about comedy, you can't think about stuff because you can't think about anything. You're
yeah.
in a flow state, just going.
You're just
So
stuffing Swiffers into a box.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
The dream, the dream job.
Oh, no windows, no clocks. Come on.
Yeah, exactly.
Rotation every 15 minutes.
Sounds
That
great.
factory life. Um,
Yeah.
uh, no, but I'm really intrigued by you said that you studied classical studies, just like Roman Empire, Greek culture.
hmm
Um, so you have an opinion on the amount of people that are males, specifically white males, talking about the Roman Empire all of a sudden because it looks like we're in late stages of like a collapsing empire, or at least America is. Do you have like a take on that, seeing as though you're studied in it?
My take on that is that was like what 3 4 months ago when that was a big thing. Like ask any
Yeah,
guy,
I
and
think
they
it's still
when
a
was the
thing.
last time? Yeah, I was like, that's insane because I studied that stuff and I don't think about the Roman Empire at all. But but these guys are thinking about it, like I don't know what are they thinking about. They're like are they thinking about like fighting in the arena or like the warriors or like I don't know. Are they just contemplating what happened in the? I don't know. It's crazy, dude. I uh I think it's just one of these weird meme culture things where it's like guys must love the Roman Empire.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
no, like why would you? I don't know why you'd be intrigued by the Roman Empire when we have like World War II because that's the classic. Like
Oh,
everyone's
yeah.
dad is watching World War II shit.
Yeah, that's
And,
true. That's kind of their Roman Empire is
yeah,
is World
that's
War II.
why I just watch reruns of 9/11 all the time. But
Oh shit.
yeah,
Different angles.
I put it into black and white, so it seems like old school and stuff. And I added some like Benny Hill theme song music.
No.
No, I'm not into
Uh,
that stuff at all. I like history, but war history, I don't know.
yeah, yeah.
So
I
to
think
answer your question, I don't know why people think about the Roman
I
Empire.
think the reason why is because like America looks so in the sense that like near the end Rome was overextended militarily. So is
Mhm.
America. America has so many bases in all these different countries. Like they had to pull out of Afghanistan and with their tail between their legs there like after like failing and letting the Taliban take over. And then you have sort of the same thing of like these people that become almost dictatorial in their well they were dictators in the Roman Empire, right? Like trying to they're off somewhere else like living like a nice lifestyle. What was the island that they would always like go off to and they would just kind of like stay there? One of them stayed there for like a while too while the city just like crumbled basically, and he just lived like this luxurious lifestyle of like so people are comparing that to like rich people now who are running shit of how they're
Mhm.
kind of like trying to experience they realize that they're at the end so they're trying to experience comfort at like the highest level like and then allowing their people to sort of just like wither away. So inflation
Yeah.
rising up, political unrest with people like burning stuff, and like it looks like it's in that sort of collapsing phase. But I suppose when you aren't looking for a solution, everything looks like it's sort of falling apart, right?
Yeah, I mean, frankly, yeah, it's very accurate that the American Empire, for if you call that, looks very much like the Roman Empire did, for sure. It's very parallel. It's just on a global scale instead of like a Mediterranean scale. But
Mm-hmm.
but dude, honestly, like things just seem to follow the same patterns. Like this idea of like careful about history, otherwise it'll repeat itself. You're like,
Yeah.
you don't have to be careful. It's gonna do it no matter what. Like
It'll
it
just
just
run its
happens.
course. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Like the zeitgeist changes and people go, you know what, we've had enough. Let's get rid of this person. And as soon as one drop in the bucket's too many, and people are like, that's it. Let's change. We got to get rid of this guy. We got to switch our politics and go there. Like everything's going that way because it seems like the globalist system is just scaring people because they're like, hey,
Mm-hmm.
we're losing and we don't want to lose. People want to win. They're like, I'm from here and I want to win. My street's better than your street. That's like the small potatoes version, and that just keeps getting bigger and bigger. Which is
Yeah.
why you have to talk to your local council person and get them to fight the next one over,
Get them to
the next
fix
council.
the fucking light.
Yeah, or die in the arena.
Yeah, yeah. You either fix the light or you die in the arena.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
well, I
it's
guess the arena now is the online political discourse. That's the new arena that people fight in. It's just
Christ. Yeah.
people screaming at each other all day. Like you could just chime into any social media platform and find somebody arguing with somebody about
but
something.
but they don't even exist.
No, no, that's what I
Like
mean. It's just
most of them are fake people,
yeah,
and
oh
then
yeah, yeah, a lot of bots.
and then the sad thing is when you find a real person and you're like, you know that you're just agreeing with bots, right? And they're like,
Yeah,
what?
yeah, yeah.
Like some guy
Like
in Rush is just like, yeah, this guy's stupid, and you go, I agree,
yeah,
Sergey, I
it's
agree.
insane that people don't know how prevalent that is, that there's like bot farms who literally just like program these fake accounts to have like algorithmic conversations, like on purpose say something that incites engagement to draw
Hmm.
attention to either a post or a certain narrative, or like if there's somebody that you're being seen constantly, it's like there's usually a reason, like somebody has bot farmed their way into making that like your center
Yeah,
focus.
which is
Not
so
not even
crazy.
everyone, just you specifically, like whatever it is.
Hmm.
So creepy.
Yeah, it's bizarre, dude. I don't really like it. It's like the internet is amazing. Obviously, it's one of the craziest tools we've ever managed to come up with. That being said, if the power goes out, there's no more internet. We still
Yeah.
have wheels and hands and the things that like make us fundamentally human and stuff. But yeah, I mean, the worst part about humanity is you're like, I'm giving you this incredible tool. What are you going to do with it? You like fuck around with it and then get mad at each other with it. You're
Yeah,
great.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Awesome. We should definitely have interplanetary travel for sure. I'm sure that'll go great. How about flying cars? That'll
Yeah,
be wonderful.
yeah, yeah. Dude,
We
what's
can't even
great? You know
have
what's great?
regular cars. They want flying cars.
I was just thinking about this the other day. You know how like moon landing hoax people who are like, we never
Uh,
landed on the moon, blah blah blah. They don't ever say shit about the Mars rover and stuff.
yeah.
Like I
Oh,
like
they think
I
it's
get it.
rolling around a desert in New Mexico. They think that's fake too.
Sure. But you know what? Like
They're like, looks
I
like Arizona to me.
I'd be it does. I'd be which makes you kind of not want to live in Arizona. You're like, isn't this like
Yeah. You're like,
like death like Mars? Like
oh yeah.
I gotta grow my own potatoes in my shit like Matt Damon. Yeah, that's right. Um, but yeah, like you don't hear enough fake Mars landing because that's actually happening now. They're trying to pull the wool over our eyes that we're on Mars, but these people are mad about the fake moon landing that happened like 50 years ago.
Yeah,
Like,
let it
get mad
go.
about the stuff right now, dude. You know?
Yeah. The part
It's
that freaks me out about the moon landing, like, is that when Neil and who was the other guy? the other guy,
Buzz
number two,
Aldrin.
Buzz Aldrin, were walking on the moon. There was another guy that had to stay in the shuttle and
I
go
know.
around the moon, around the dark side of the moon by himself for the first time ever. He has
Hmm.
no one that he can talk to about that. He is the only person to have experienced that. And then to come back around and then land, absolutely fucking madness.
Yeah, and he didn't even get to to walk on the moon.
No, he went all the way there and he was like, I'm good. I'm
Yeah,
gonna sit in this fucking thing.
yeah.
Think
Imagine he
about
comes
how
back
much
and
I
goes,
hate my wife.
bro, the dark side of the moon. It's just like a set, dude. It's just like
Just like
like
Roger Waters said.
wooden boards and shit.
Yeah,
There's some
yeah,
guys
yeah,
moving
yeah.
shit around back there. What?
There was an alien back there the whole time,
Yeah,
just on
fuck.
the back of it.
I
Um,
yeah, it's crazy. The I love the idea that the moon landing is real because it's the coolest shit ever. And they're like, they couldn't do that on a computer. You're like, yeah, they could. They could calculate a lot of shit back in the day
yeah,
with a compass. Like you can calculate stuff. Like the astrophysics they're doing now is insane. Where they're like, hey, tomorrow you're going to see a supernova. You go,
yeah.
how do you know that? And they go, because we study the shit. We know all this crazy stuff. You know,
It's
okay,
like
sure.
stuff that's been around for like thousands of years too. You're like, we built the pyramids. You don't think we could go to the moon? We could figure
Yeah,
out how to go to the moon. Like,
yeah.
look at like there's so many examples around you. It's like look at every city. The fact that there's so many cities that have massive skyscrapers and like economies that operate and function. Humans did that. That didn't
Hmm.
exist. Like we just did that.
Yeah,
We have a whole Star Wars franchise that someone just thought of with their brain and then made it. Like we can go to the moon, I think.
yeah.
Like,
I feel like people are regretting that some of those Star Wars things were made at this point.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm sure everything can go a little too far, you know? Like imagine we went to the moon too many times and they're like, they're
Yeah,
going too many times. I don't
yeah.
believe it anymore.
Enough with stop bringing back these moon rocks, man. I
Yeah,
don't even
yeah.
have room
I
for them.
get
It's
it. They're
crazy.
just in like every gift shop everywhere.
Yeah.
Worth less than a penny.
I love that that's the opposite of the hoax moon landing. It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
stop landing on the moon, man. Fuck, dude.
There is a
It's nuts.
timeline, a universe where that happens, where people
Yeah.
believe that we go to the moon too much.
What do you think of that? What do you think of parallel universes?
I I think it's like if it's something that exists, it's definitely beyond comprehension. So that's why there's a little bit of a tendency to be like, all right. I think
Yeah.
like again, it's like going back to the, over analyzing a joke. I think yes, in life you have like multiple decisions that you can make in a given time. And sure, if you're like, oh, had I chosen that job, my life would have looked completely different. And it's
Hmm.
like, yeah, but that doesn't necessarily mean that there's a timeline that exists where you did do that. Like you just chose to go that way. You can imagine all you want what that life would have looked like. That doesn't make it real, you know?
Yeah,
It's a
for
bit of like
sure.
it's a bit of I think overanalyzing life can be a bit of an escape from reality, as funny as that sounds.
Definitely. Yeah,
You
yeah.
know?
There's certain like there's many philosophical questions, and that is one of them where it's like no matter what the answer is, it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
It's like
exactly. That's right where I'm
because
at.
like you're saying oh I went right instead of going left, and you're like okay now every single step and breath you take is a different parallel universe branch, and that's everyone and everything that ever happened. Like
Yeah.
then it's same thing with like one of my favorites is the what's it called this the we live in like the Matrix kind of thing. What is it called? The
Like a simulation.
simulation theory. Yeah, where
Yeah,
it's
like
like
we're inside of a computer or something.
yeah, computers got so good that we can't tell them from reality. You're like, then who cares?
Yeah, I would slap that person in the face and be like, was that reality?
Yeah,
Did you feel
and
that?
they, yeah, and they're like, nope, you programmed it. But like, if everything is so
Yeah.
real that it's real, then it doesn't. It's not fake. Like,
Yeah.
okay, it just like some people want to be smarter than the rest of the people in the room, and those people tend to go towards kind of conspiracy sometimes, where they're just like, I can see through the fakery, and you're like, who cares? Who cares? You know what my
Yeah.
favorite one is when it goes, "Hey Johnny, what if what I see is purple and you call it purple too, but you see it as green? Like if I saw it through your eyes, it'd be green." And you go, "Who cares?
I've
We call it
never heard
purple."
that before.
Oh, that's like the
That's
high
so
school.
crazy. I'm like,
That's
what?
it's the high school stoner one where you're like, "What if what I see is purple is what you see is green?" You're like, "It doesn't matter. We both
Yeah.
agreed that that's purple, so
Yeah,
who
and that's
cares?"
enough. Like, what if I gave you $10 and I told you it was $100 because I saw it as $100? What are we doing
uh,
here?
yeah, I'll take that. I'll take the
You're
$100.
like, give me 90 change now.
Yeah. But yeah, you know what? Bringing it back to comedy, that's a good point. Like there are jokes where you go, you if you analyze them too much. I have jokes that work, and I think about them, and I go, that's not even funny. I don't even
Yeah.
know why I thought that was funny.
Oh,
It's obtuse, and it like gets a reaction, but I'm like fundamentally that's not that funny.
yeah. Like
But
if you were saying it I know what you mean. Like you say it in a conversation, you're like, it's not going to make the other person laugh. But for some reason, like the way you perform it maybe did for a while, and then you've
I don't know.
just
I think if you just get too close to your stuff, sometimes you just go, what does that even mean? Like,
yeah,
like
yeah,
I
yeah,
don't know. And you
yeah.
can I've seen other people's jokes, great jokes, people laugh at them, and I'm there going like, I don't get it. I don't understand what what that joke is supposed to be. Like I don't know why it's funny, but everyone's laughing, so I'm like, all right, cool, I
Yeah,
get
yeah.
it.
Nice.
It's weird.
Um, I gotta slip in this last question that I always ask all my
Yeah.
guests. I want you to think of yourself at 15 years old.
Okay.
The reason why I say that is because it's easier to like contextualize yourself at that age and know what you were going through and maybe personalize this a little bit more. But if the phone rang and it was you now, speaking of alternate timelines, you now on the other end, you can give your younger self a piece of advice. What would you say?
Um I get in trouble for saying that. What would I tell myself? I don't know, man. Honestly, I'd be like, uh, spend your life better than I did. So when you call yourself again in 30 years, you'll have better advice than I do. I didn't do much of anything.
Uh,
I don't know. I'd be like, stay the course, do your have fun. Like, but pretty much just have a good time. It's that's what I like to do. I like to laugh. I like to make people laugh. That's about it. So it wouldn't be too different. Like I think I was kind of like that at 15. I'd obviously tell myself to have sex with about 300 more women. But
you're like, take every opportunity.
yeah, no, I don't know. I might be like, hey, and when I was 15, I don't think I've changed all that much. I'm certainly not mature. Um,
Nice.
I look very similar.
Yeah, I'm right there with
uh,
you, bro.
yeah. Um,
I
yeah,
look like
maybe I
I
should
just
go.
turned 15.
I actually wrote a screenplay about that because this is a pretty funny story. I'll finish with this if you want. I was at my job before I was an archaeologist, and I was 28 at the time or something. And this guy I worked with, he goes, how old are you? And I go, 28. And he goes, bullshit. He goes, let me see your ID. And I go, okay. And I showed him my ID. He goes, holy shit, it's crazy. Like he thought I was like 17 or something,
That's
right?
crazy.
And so I got this idea from that. I go, wouldn't it be funny if I went like if someone like me went back and was like a narc at a high school and like an undercover cop or whatever. So I wrote for a whole year. I wrote this movie. It's called High School. It's funny. It's great. And I wrote this whole thing, and it's all about that. It's about a guy going back to high school to break up a drug ring and stuff. And then I finished it, and then like a couple weeks later or something, 21 Jump Street, the movie
It's
comes
good to
out,
say.
and someone goes, and I they and someone told
uh,
me they go, what? Oh my god, I didn't know that. I didn't know it was about that at all.
oh my God, that's
What a
so
what a
funny.
waste of a year. Um,
I truly believe ideas are like that though. Like if you get an idea, it didn't necessarily just come to you. It went to a lot of people, and whoever is going to act on it first is who's going to follow that idea through.
Yeah, dude. And that's the coolest thing about stand-up comedy is because even in our small but amazing community, you see people all the time. I see jokes and I go, damn, I wish I wrote that joke. Or like I know a lot of people get premise jealousy where you
Mm,
see someone and they say whatever. They're like, I don't know, pizza should be square. I don't
yeah.
know,
And
something
you're
that would
like,
be
where's he
funny.
going with this?
Yeah, but there's somewhere you go, fuck. Like someone goes, hey, do you ever live in one of those houses where something like you got a rickety washing machine that's always going, and
Yeah.
like it's something that everyone exists with or something, and you go, damn it, why didn't I write that? There's so much stuff where you go, why didn't I think of that? And then there's jokes where you just hear them and you go, that's the greatest joke. I've definitely heard jokes where I go, man, I wish I wrote that joke. It's great. It's just like
Yeah.
you love the joke, and I think jokes just come to people. I don't think there's divine inspiration, but it just comes flows through people, and you get this idea, and then you kind of know. You're like, yeah, that's gonna be funny.
Oh
That's
yeah, yeah. The
that's
best is
crazy.
when
Like,
you're riffing with like friends about something, about an idea, and it's not on purpose. You're just genuinely, ranty about a certain thing, and you're just able to crack off the best lines where you're like, oh, I can easily manufacture that into something that's actually good for stage.
yeah, definitely,
Yeah.
dude. I've had a couple times in my life, including a joke I do right now, where I was like, that is such a good like borderline vaudeville joke. Like it's a big
Nice.
joke. It's like a hey blah 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 blah,
Yeah.
and I'm like I have to Google it to see what happens. Like most of the jokes I've ever had that were just big one liner like huge pops. I'm like if I Google this, it'll exist already, and then I
Oh.
do, and they don't.
Oh.
Like this joke I tell, it's my Romeo Juliet joke. I'm like guaranteed someone thought about that in the last 400, no,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
500 years. And I can't find any evidence of it. I go, fine, it's mine until until
Until
someone tells me
somebody says
otherwise.
otherwise. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, fuck.
It's nuts.
That's great, man. I'm gonna share your stuff here for people to go check you out. People watching on YouTube, thank you so much. If you're listening to this, go follow on Instagram. It's at Tavis Maplesden. All these links are in the
Hmm.
description below. Go subscribe to that YouTube page. And
And actually, if I can share one other one,
yeah, yeah.
my son and I, that's him there at the facing away from you. We started little fun videos called the Dune Dudes, Dundudez, Dune Dudes on YouTube, and the two of us go on little adventures and film them and stupid and goofy. So
Dune
check that out,
dudes. Let me
Dune
blend
Dudes.
this.
Yeah, we just released one a few hours ago, and it's been a lot
Nice.
of fun because my son's growing up deep in the YouTube generation, right? He's
So he's like, I want
yeah,
to be a YouTuber.
yeah, which I'm like, no, you don't.
You're like, you don't want this lifestyle.
Like, all right, here's what you got to do: get a GoPro and then do this.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Many times.
Yeah,
Go build
and you can,
houses.
Johnny, you can use that for your thumbnail
Yeah, yeah,
for this one for sure.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Or you can send me a headshot or any of that stuff. That works too.
No,
Or
forget it.
yeah, send me the headshot and then I'll just end up using the blurry screen cap
I,
of you
I would
shots.
just send you a headshot like this anyway, so
Yeah, you're
it
like,
doesn't
can I see
matter.
the video? You just go back and screenshot it.
Yeah,
Oh, dude, thanks for coming on and hanging out, man. I really appreciate it. It was
yeah, man.
fun
Thanks
getting
for
to chat
having
with
me,
you.
for sure.
And hope people
Um,
go check out your stuff.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, if you're in Ottawa, come to No Forks Given on in what's it called, Sandy Hill area around King Edward and Somerset. Every Tuesday at 8, we do a wicked show there. And other than that, if you're in Ottawa, support local comedy, go see people, and continue to watch Johnny's show. I
Thank
was
you
gonna
for the
shout
endorsement.
like I'm gonna shout out your show, but you're like you're already
Uh,
on it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Thanks for watching, everybody. Hit that subscribe button, leave a 5-star review, subscribe on Patreon for access to episodes before they come out. I've been Johnny Rogers. Take it easy.
You've been listening to The Johnny Rogers Show. New episodes air every Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.